Thirst for power.
By the scorched earth of the lower plains, damn that overgrown blight of a forest!
The Warwick brought his fist down on the stone pedestal in frustration. The crystal ball before him remained stubbornly misty, his spell failing to manifest despite drawing strength from him still. Scowling, Warwick lifted his hand and closed his fist, stopping the flow of magic and allowing the spell to end. The mist in the crystal cleared, regaining its original transparency as Warwick turned away to the tome on the nearby table. Still muttering dark profanities, he pored over the tome for the 5th time that evening. Despite his efforts, the book seemed to hold none of the answers he was looking for, souring his mood further. Warwick raised himself from his contemplating and gestured with his hand towards the far corner of the room, as if calling on an unseen servant. A ceramic cup filled with green tea floated obediently into the air and across the room to land in Warwick's hand. Warwick stepped back from the pedestal and sipped at the steaming liquid as he weighed his options in his mind.
I don't get it. Why didn't the spell work? Is the crystal ball broken?
Warwick closed his eyes and released a long sigh of frustration as his familiar made himself known from the far side of the room. The imp spread his wings and flew over to the pedestal, tilting his head to the side as he inspected the clear orb with a quizzical look.
I've never been to the ruins, and the scrying spell only works for locations you've seen. Usually this is a simple problem that can be solved by sending you and seeing through your eyes. However, something in the vicinity of those ruins seems capable of destroying the soul of a familiar, as well as its body. There must be magic of great power if he's gone to such lengths to guard it.
That sounds bad, real bad. Why don't you just walk there yourself? Nothing's stopping you. Besides, you really seem like you could use the sunlight. Oh, what if we take some of those magic horse thingies that they've had?
Be silent, you worthless creature!
The energy in the room felt colder and darker as the warlock let out his anger towards the chatty imp, making the air feel poisoned and heavy with frustration.
Not until I understand what these wards are capable of. I will not risk myself when I have my magics.
The warlock drank the remaining of his lukewarm tea before placing the mug on the nearby table. Leaving the pedestal in the centre of the circular room, Warwick strode to one of the many bookcases along the walls of his chamber. His hand hovered over tomes of old, as he searched for one of the newer additions to his collection. As he found the tome he was searching for, Warwick pulled the battered, leather-bound book from the shelf. The cover, a faded red, aged and neglected, was dull and unassuming. Warwick opened the book as he made his way back to the desk and pedestal, carefully examining the worn pages. The writing had faded slightly with the passage of time, along with hosting handwriting that was difficult to decipher.
That thing looks ancient. What's it got? Some new spell for bypassing words?
Zeke chattered as he leaned forward on his perch by the pedestal, trying to get a better look at the barely legible writing.
Spellbook, you... Oh. It's a journal. It belonged to Zelmisk Chursk, Lord of Gliston in 354, year of the failing spell. That was the year the mad mages of Begorn fell at the hands of Eltor Thacus. Chursk was a snivelling fool. The only useful thing this man did in his life was to scribble in this journal.
What use is some dusty old diary from 600 years ago? I can barely make anything out, just toss the old thing.
Zeke grabbed the open book and held it in front of himself, dangling it by its front cover with one hand, letting the pages flip freely down. Warwick turned sharply and pointed at the imp. Zeke froze as the warlock's magic paralysed him, making him fall to the ground with a muffled grunt. The book in his hand destined to fall with him, but instead seemed to freeze in its free fall, before moving gently back to its place on the desk. Scowling, Warwick strode over to where the imp had fallen, still pointing as his magic restrained the imp, towering himself above the helpless familiar on the floor.
Sagas is the chief advisor to Lord Kilder Feldenos, and the self-appointed guardian of the ruins where the mad mages once practiced their craft. He's been guarding those ruins since he brought down those mages as an apprentice over 600 years ago. That dusty old diary contains records of when Eltor stumbled into the military city of Gliston right after felling the mages. It may contain hints as to where I can find answers to the god's accursed ward that he erected around that site. Now, for the final time, we all that. Well, the next spell I cast will be an Eldritch Blast.
Warwick lowered his finger, releasing his magic as he did so. Free once more, Zeke stood up from the floor. He looked up at the warlock with fear in his eyes, before moving silently to a high perch to avoid any further wrath. Looking past the imp, Warwick addressed the newcomer who had silently entered shortly before.
You know better than to enter my study without announcement.
As Warwick spoke, he gave a sideways glare to the newcomer before turning away and back to his book. A broadly built wood elf stood just past the doorway, clad in leather armour, with her deep greens and browns offering the perfect place for a hidden blade or two.
There is an intruder approaching the tower, my lord. They passed the outermost alarms undetected, and are only a quarter mile down the road. It is more than likely they will discover this tower before long.
So there's someone doing out here in the middle of nowhere. Are they alone?
It would appear so.
Why weren't they detected by the outermost spells? Are you sure they weren't triggered?
They were not, though it is unlikely that this individual bypassed them without some effort to remain undetected. Would you like me to deal with them?
I'm a traveller on a road leading nowhere but the swamps to the north. Hold fast for a moment.
Warwick turned to a stone pedestal once more and raised his arms. Chanting in a low voice, the warlock started to wave his hands in a concentric motion above the crystal. Mist filled the clear orb, twisting around the centre before filling with colour. As Warwick finished his incantation, the colour settled across the mist, forming a picture. Liatris stepped forward to gain a better look as the orb showed a single young man walking down the mountain road near the tower. Wearing a cloak and breastplate, with a longsword strapped to his waist, the young man paused for a moment to look behind himself with a frown, before continuing down the path.
Whoever this man is, clearly no mere traveller. Are you quite certain that your raids on caravans have gone unnoticed, Liatris?
I'm sure that no one saw me. Regardless of my skill, the people there were bound to notice when enough deliveries didn't make it. Considering that, it is more than likely that a quest has been sent to the Oaken rats in Karnag.
No. Your hatred of that guild and its master is clouding your thoughts. If it was the Oaken Shield, then there would be a group of them. They would also be more likely to assume some creature from the valley was responsible and be searching for a monster to kill, rather than actually investigate any possible leads. It's more likely that he's a scout for the military, some low-ranking investigator trying to determine why their paperwork doesn't add up.
I take it you don't want him taken alive, then?
What use is he to me? Kill him and make it look like an accident. Might stop folks wandering where they shouldn't.
Dead bodies are still likely to raise suspicion. If we keep operating like this, then we will inevitably be discovered.
I am aware of that. We could deal with it when the time comes. For now, the longer my tower remains unknown to the common folk, the more I can get done in peace. Taking power from gods is a hard enough task as it is without the populace adding to the difficulty.
Understood.
The wood elf turned away and made for the door at a brisk pace, only to pause before it and turn back to the warlock.
Before I kill him, I would like to interrogate him for information on any new members of the guild.
Yes. So long as he dies and it looks like an accident, do as you please.
Liatris bowed her head in acknowledgement before leaving through the door. Warwick kept his attention on the man shown in the orb. Something about the traveller not quite feeling right. Perturbed, he closed his hand once again to release the spell and ended the flow of magic. The image in the orb cleared once more as he turned back to his desk.
I need to know more before I can attempt to scry the ruins again. It will have to wait. Zeke, go and fetch my invocation chalk. I want to review my plans for trapping a celestial soul once more before I make an attempt at it.